Alright, I'm going to do another video. This time we're going to the YMCA downtown. Notice the man right over here. Alright, we're going. Okay, we got a big truck coming this way. It's kind of a narrow street. A lot of people pull over when there's other traffic coming. I'll just keep wiggling the steering wheel to make sure it knows I'm right here, ready to take over at any second. Sun is out. So notice how the wipers went up. That was the car putting the wipers up because the cameras are up here behind this thing. So it's just trying to make sure it's keeping the windshield clean so it can see. Yeah. I wish it was better at avoiding potholes. So it's actually a busy time of the day. Everyone's going to work. It's 7:40.
Now turn left onto 31st Street.
And we're going to be doing a left turn. We got a pedestrian over here. So autopilot creeping forward. So it's thinking. Let's see. There we go.
Now turn right to take the Interstate 235 East ramp.
Okay, I'm gonna toggle it up because I want to go faster. I'm actually gonna put my foot on the accelerator because it just goes too slow
In
when it gets
1
on the
mile,
interstate.
take exit 8A on the right toward downtown Des Moines.
It wants to go a certain speed. It wants to go 55 because that's the speed limit here, but no one drives the speed limit. So I have to keep toggle. I had to toggle it up again because it keeps seeing every time it sees the stop sign. I mean, not the stop sign, the speed limit sign. 55 wants to go down to 55, but I put it at 65.
Exit 8A on the right.
There's a notification that pops up every so often saying make sure you have your hands on the wheel.
Take 7th Street towards 6th Avenue, 5th Avenue.
And that's what I'm doing, is I'm just wiggling it. And if I don't do it for a while, it'll start, this blue light will start going, and then it'll start beeping at me if it takes longer for me to...
500 feet, keep left to take School Street. Now keep left to take School Street.
You can see pedestrian right here on the side of the road.
500 feet, turn right onto 5th Avenue.
So one thing I noticed is up here, it kind of acts funny when
Now
it's
turn
taking this
right onto
corner.
5th Avenue.
It just slows down a lot. Actually, it was better that time. I did this yesterday, and it took a lot slower. So somehow the computer can learn. It can. I wish I could explain it better, but you know, it recognizes its surroundings, and when it takes a certain course and it notices hazards, it actually gets better at recognizing where to go or what to do. So the light just turned yellow. It actually decided to go through the yellow light. Automatically cleaning windshield. That's what it's doing right now. It apparently thinks my windshield's too dirty. So like it's pretty much a robot on wheels. It's like it's cleaning itself. I didn't tell it to do that. So we're right here at the YMCA.
Right onto Grand Avenue. Then your destination will be on the right.
So I'm not entirely sure what it's going to do. It got into the left lane, then it got back into the right lane. There's another test. Alright.
Now turn right onto Grand Avenue.
It's going to go up in front of the building. And, there's a guy standing out in the road.
Now your destination is on the right.
Okay. So I'm taking over right here. I'm just going to park it. So this is the destination. So where to now? Let's go to get to the airport. So Des Moines International Airport. I'm going to turn on FSD now, and all right, we're going to go to the airport. So there's actually some construction on Floor Drive that gets to the airport, and it's going to be a single lane, and the traffic's really bad right now because everyone's going to work. So I figured this would be, I don't know, kind of a high stress environment right now. A lot of traffic, and we're going to see how well the vehicle navigates. Not really paying attention to the map. Not exactly sure which way it's going to take. If it's going to go left or right, because it needs to get onto MLK to get to Floor Drive. You can see there was the map that shows you how to get there, but I really want you to be able to see what the car is seeing, just because this is it's really interesting. It shows the door open for that truck right there. You can see it sees the stop cone right there. Okay, so I think I know where it's going.
Turn left onto Floor Drive.
I'm actually a little nervous about once it gets on the floor drive, because
Now
like I said,
turn
it's
left
super
onto Floor
busy
Drive.
and there's a lot of construction, and construction's what really concerns me. And this intersection's actually kind of an odd one. You can see the blue line is it's showing the course it wants to take. We are in a one-way right now. That's why we're all the way on the left side. See, these lights are green. This light is still red. And they can see traffic past the lights that's turning. All right, here we go. Let's see how we do. All right. So that car pulled out. It slowed down a little. So this lane's going to merge. I'm actually going to turn up the speed limit. I mean, I'm going to turn up the speed to 40 because the car behind me is going kind of fast. So the vehicle wants to take these curves at a certain speed. The car behind me, I think, wants to go a little bit faster. It's not bad. So we're going to have to merge over into this lane pretty soon. The car needs to see that it's going to happen soon. Okay. That took longer than I wished. I would have moved over sooner, but this is the first time I'm actually going this way on FSD. So the car is experiencing this trip for the first time, and hopefully it'll learn while it's doing it. So maybe the second time we go, it'll actually kind of build up a memory of what it remembers, so it'll predict what will come up, if that makes any sense. I mean, kind of like when you travel somewhere for the first time, you remember, oh yeah, this is here. The car will remember that. I've noticed that about the construction site near my place. One of the roads is closed off, but when I've been recently using FSD, it remembers it's not supposed to go down the street because it's in a construction zone. Or it's looking off of Google Maps or something. So I can go show traffic, and I asked it to show traffic. It'll show the street signs. It'll show like orange and red lines, and that'll show where, what streets are busy and stuff. So you can kind of see Floor Drive has this orange line next to our blue destination, our blue route. So it kind of shows that this is a more busy spot. And you can see a lot of cones everywhere. I guess it's not single lane. I thought they would have closed it off by now, but well, there's the road work ahead sign. All right, I'm seeing some cars move to the left lane, so seems like we got some traffic. We got something up ahead. Okay. Oh, it sees it. Knows it needs to get into the left lane. I don't think they were honking at me. I think that was over there. Yeah, did that actually pretty well. I don't know if it's going to actually pull into the airport or if it's going to... Once it gets to its destination, it usually just stops right in front of it on the street. And it's just waiting for you to give it its next command or take over to park. I mean, it would be cool if it could just like find a parking spot and park. Maybe in a few updates it will. Actually go into the airport. I mean, up into the drive-through sort of terminal. So I have a natural driving style. I like to drive a certain way, and I realize this for the longest time, its driving style didn't quite meet my own. So that's kind of why I would take over a lot. But it's actually driving a lot more natural now than it has in the past. Yeah, I don't think I've had to take it. I don't think I've taken over at all. I don't think I've really done anything since we started the trip, other than maybe toggle up the speed limit. Honestly, I believe the biggest obstacle to FSD becoming fully available to the public is like government regulation. Just watching it grow over the past year has been pretty impressive, to be honest, because like when I first got it, I thought it was really cool, but I didn't think it was great because there was a lot of things it did wrong where I had to take out it would just like drive a weird direction or something. It would go really slow, is what pretty much, or it'd get confused at a corner. We're actually not going there. Oh no, we are.
Turn right onto Leland Avenue.
It wants to pull into the parking lot, I guess. I actually thought it was going to pull over there, but then I remembered.
Now turn right onto Leland Avenue.
This airport is under construction. They're building some new spots for it.
Now turn right onto Duck Pond Road.
Yeah. We're at the airport.
In 500 feet, turn right onto Cowles Drive, then turn left onto Duck Pond Road.
Let's turn around. I'm taking over. Because I really don't want to be here. Let's get to Jorden Creek Mall. Alright, Jorden Creek Town Center.
In 500 feet, turn left onto Leland Avenue.
FSD is on. Flipping the switch. Now we're going to the mall.
Now turn left onto Leland Avenue.
Well, I don't know if this car is better than a normal person, but it feels like it's definitely better than a drunk driver. So this is kind of odd. It's, well, now, there we go. It took a little while to turn left right there. And that actually kind of confused that driver back there. Yeah. You can see that's the notification to let me know to put my hands on the wheel. We're gonna kind of take a boring route today, to the mall. We're gonna kind of be leaving the city and driving on the outside. So there won't be very many intersections. Yeah, so I've only put my foot on the pedals once, and that was to accelerate at that, pretty much while it was curving to get onto floor, because it wanted to, I had toggled it up to 40 miles per hour when it wanted to go 30, and I was really only doing that because there was an impatient driver behind me. Now just imagine a future where all cars have FSD. With new technology, they might be communicating with each other. I would assume that would be the case. So a car might see something ahead, being like, hey, there's a deer crossing the road or something. There's a stalled vehicle, or there's a crash. And it lets other cars know behind them what to expect. And with this, like the traffic, awareness, there's been times where people have called me and they're like, hey, there's an accident on 35, like the traffic's really built up, and I'll, look at the map to see the traffic, and I'll see a huge red line. And then sometimes the vehicle will show me a new route to take, like a quicker route, because like you have the normal route you usually take, but sometimes it'll pull up a different route, and then you discover, oh, it was because of traffic, or there's an accident, or there's construction, why it wanted to go a faster way, or a longer way but faster than the way that has the hazards or something.
In 1,000 feet, turn right to take the Iowa 5 North route toward Interstate 35, Norwalk. Turn right to take the Iowa 5 North ramp.
Alright, so I just accelerated, mostly to show you what the acceleration's like. Can't put your foot down and make the car go faster. So there's a guy by the name of Dan O'Dowd, who owns a company called Green Hill Software. I think they were developing self-driving technology for other vehicles. And lately this guy's been like putting out a lot of hit pieces against Tesla, trying to show that their technology is dangerous, and he says they should be banned from the roads. But to me, it looks like very obvious that this is competition to his company, and that's why he's trying to kind of push this agenda. So what he did recently was he took a Tesla that had FSD, and he showed it plowing over a mannequin of a kid. And he's like, Tesla FSD is super dangerous. You can see it runs over a child. But the thing is, like the test, it had stop cones on the road, so the car wasn't going to move over because it believed it was in a construction site. And the thing is, the video did not show the entire screen. And a lot of people, and I believe this, are like, he could have easily been, whoever was driving that vehicle could have been accelerating. I'm actually going to move over to the left lane. The reason why I'm moving over to the left lane is I wanted to let this truck on. I don't know what I honestly don't know what the car was going to do. It might have, I mean, it probably would have let them on, but I just wanted to be polite. Got to be Iowa nice here. But yeah, with the FSD, I mean, with this Dan O'Dowd, it seemed pretty obvious the driver was accelerating to keep the car from not braking. Because like, if an object jumps in front of you, the car will stop. It will slow down and stop as quickly as it can. That's actually quick. All right, the car's making the lane change back into this lane. Okay, confirm lane change out of passing lane. It wants me to confirm. Yeah, but anyone who drives FSD would know, the car sees an object, it will stop if it's in the front, or it'll swerve out of the way. So that whole video that this guy put out just seems like it doesn't seem legit. I think the driver was tampering with the accelerator. Like, they saw that mannequin, they're like flooring it. And other people went out and tested it, and they're like, no, every time we had a dummy on the road or a mannequin, the car would stop. And depending on how realistic the mannequin is, like if it's not a very realistic mannequin, the car will recognize it as an object, but it might not recognize it as a person. Because it needs to identify, what's a sign, what's a telephone pole, what's a person, what's a bicyclist, what's a motorcycle. If you want to learn more, I really recommend watching the videos, the AI videos Tesla put out recently, the one from a year ago. They're pretty long, they're several hours, they're kind of confusing, but I find them very valuable. It really does explain a lot.
In 1 mile, take the Interstate 35 North exit on the left towards Minneapolis.
The thing is how the vehicles are gathering data. They have to keep seeing things, see new objects on the road. Like it'll see something like an umbrella on the side of the road. And it has to go through like 1,000 images of an umbrella, thousands of images of umbrellas to teach itself this is what an umbrella looks like. And eventually it'll start to recognize, there's an umbrella, something like an umbrella fell on the road. And then it'll like make distinctions. Okay, is this a cylinder block on the road? Is this a paper bag? Is this something I need to try to avoid, or is this something I can run over and be perfectly fine? And it's really interesting, like AI technology to learn how to handle these situations.
Now take the Interstate 35 North exit on the left.
So it's telling me upcoming lane change. It wants me to get into the left lane. I'm assuming. Not really sure why it wants me to get into the left lane. Yeah, it's stuff like this that a year ago would have made me super nervous. Like, watching the car turn left going 70 miles per hour and worrying about like, oh, is it going to try to get into this lane? Okay, we're going to be merging. That's what's going on here. Okay, I am using the turn signal. I'm holding it down. It's finding a space between this truck and that van back there. Like I said, sometimes it'll make the lane changes on its own. Other times it'll ask me for permission to make the lane change, because I think it's because it knows it's so busy, it needs to make sure I'm right there to take over in case anything goes wrong.
In 1 mile, take exit 70 on the right onto Mill Civic Parkway.
A lot of what it's doing is just constantly making sure I'm alert. Okay, confirm lane change. All right, I'm gonna confirm lane change. I'm normally not in this part of Des Moines at this time of the day, so I'm not really sure what the traffic's like. It's usually
now
pretty
take
busy.
exit 70 on the right. In 1,000 feet, keep left to take Mill Civic Parkway. Now keep left to take Mill Civic Parkway.
Okay, it's gonna get a little confused. Okay, maybe it's not. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be in. Well, no, it's in the right lane. Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know how aware people are of the FSD program, and pretty much the whole point of the videos is to just show people this is a a growing thing, and more drivers on the road are having it. I think right now there's 160,000 Tesla drivers that have this program, and me and my wife have 2 of the vehicles, and that's because I paid and signed up to be a part of it because it seemed like such a cool idea. FSD, actually, this was the #1 reason for buying a Tesla. There was many reasons why I bought a Tesla, but this was the #1 reason. I think a lot of people think, oh, you think you're acting like you care about the environment, and I don't know. I mean, I do. I care about the environment, but that was only a tiny little fraction of why I bought this car. FSD, the idea that I could watch a car drive itself, just sounded really cool to me. And I knew it wasn't going to be perfect. I knew it was going to be a work in progress, but the idea of watching a program slowly get better as you drive it, experience it, it just sounded so cool. It's like, I'll be telling my grandkids, I was there in the early days. That was weird. Okay, well, I took over. Because it started pulling out a little too far. I don't know why. That's a red light. That was odd. So that was the first real mistake of the day. This is, yeah, I hit the brakes. Alright. I'm sure the other drivers were like, dude, you kind of pulled out too far. Yeah, I'm not sure if the more I'm thinking about that, I don't know if it was looking for one of the lines to show where it needs to be parked behind this. You could see that there was, a red stop, the red stoplights. Pretty much it stopped in a spot, or I'm gonna see what it's doing here. Okay.
500 feet, turn right onto South 68th Street. Now turn right onto South 68th Street.
I don't know. It took that corner like grandma speed. And so every time the driver takes, it intervenes. Like when the driver, like my job is to make sure the car is learning. So because I stopped the brake, I stopped FSD. So it records that data. It's going to upload it to the Tesla network, and then it'll go through a giant computer system known as Dojo. And it'll process this information like, okay, why did the driver intervene? What was the car doing wrong? And it's kind of hard to explain, but this Tesla has this network, this giant computer called Dojo. And I don't know if you're familiar with chess, or there's the more complex game Go, but computers were able to teach himself how to get really good at playing this game Go, which had like the amount of moves you could make was like insane. So we're at a yellow light. It's going now. So the computer has to keep going through all this data to figure out, to slowly learn, but it's, processing mountains of data. So the more data it has, the smarter the vehicle will get. So eventually, it will overcome problems. I mean, people are going to be critical of stuff like that because they're going to be like, oh, that's dangerous, But this is really why it's important for me to take over at any moment.
500 feet, your destination.
And I think this to me seems like the best way to have FSD is to have, it learn and have operators teach it in a way. And eventually we'll achieve, there will get to a point where no one will really need to drive. And I know there's people who are going to think, well, I'm a really safe driver. But think of how many bad drivers you know. There's people who drive drunk. There's people who will be aggressive. They'll be reckless. It's like, do you want those people on the road? You've probably known someone who's gotten killed in an automobile accident. And, maybe someone who has killed someone. And you could think about, well, if we lived in a world where all of our cars were ran by computers, maybe we wouldn't have tragedies like this and people dying. So that's the dream. We're at the mall. It stopped. It's waiting for another destination. Where should I go? Should I go home? The car's kind of driving itself now. I don't have a destination. And I'm not entirely sure where it wants to go. There's a new Model Y right there. Let's go to... Should I just go home? Alright. We're gonna go home. So there's a lot of criticism against electric vehicles because people are saying they're not good for the environment. You're still going to have carbon emissions with electric vehicles, but you can actually decrease it. There's a lot of criticism against the batteries. There are several different types of batteries. Tesla has two different types of batteries. They have the lithium iron phosphate battery, but then they also have a nickel, cobalt, aluminum lithium battery. And the biggest criticism against batteries is cobalt. Cobalt is seen as the most toxic out of all of the batteries. And people will say things like, "Oh, children in Africa are mining your cobalt." It's like, I don't think that's true at all. Like, you would need, I've seen like video footage of industrial mining in Africa, and it's like, it's grown men using machinery. It's like, you can't be digging in the dirt trying to find this stuff. You have to actually like dig deep and use equipment. And Tesla is really focused on finding environmentally friendly. Notice this guy's walking on the side of the road. The car got confused. They thought that guy was going to walk out into the road. And I think that guy got confused too, because he was probably like, "Is this guy pulling over to talk to me?" So it sees his truck in the road, and it's like, what the heck is this truck doing right here? It's pointing in the wrong direction. Yeah, but Tesla now has the LFP batteries being built, so they don't need to use cobalt, and they don't need to use nickel, which nickel is an expensive mineral.
Now turn right onto Jorden Creek Parkway.
And yeah, electric vehicles are still powered by some, things like coal, but they've done environmental studies, and they've discovered that even if an electric vehicle is powered by coal, 100% by coal, that's still still better than a traditional internal combustion engine vehicle. And in Iowa, about 62% of our energy comes from wind turbines. Our energy is through Mid-America Energy. And I know the last I checked, 2021 energy, 62% was from the wind. And then there's going to be people who are going to make arguments about wind turbines, how you can't recycle the turbine, the blades and stuff. And actually, that may have been the case in the past, but Mid-American Energy does recycle their blades. I can't quite remember everything they do with them, but I do know one of the things is they turn them into 3D filament you can use for 3D printing. I highly recommend going to their website, checking it out. They talk a lot about it. It's really interesting. I'm not, I don't want to like virtue signal or like saying like, "Oh, I got this because I want it to be better for the environment." But I think eventually all vehicles will become electric. And the reason why is the price of the battery is coming down. As we get better at making them, the cost will come down. Just like personal computers in the 80s, just like cell phones, the price came down. And it'll get to a point where a battery will be, the battery will make an electric vehicle way more affordable than an internal combustion engine. Because the battery is really the only expensive part about this vehicle. It's just a battery, 2 motors. I'll show you. I mean, that's it. The battery right there, 2 motors, and the computer. But think about an internal combustion engine. You have, not only do you have the engine, you have the transmission, you have the catalytic converter, you have a lot of expensive parts, a lot of maintenance, a lot of pieces. A lot of engineers will tell you the more parts, the more problems.
Now turn right to take the Interstate 80 East route.
That's just what happens. The more parts, the more things that can break down and go wrong. Yeah. Yeah, I believe electric vehicles are going to beat out the internal combustion engine. if anyone wants to take me up on a bet, I will bet you $100, $1,000 if you want. 2035, 90% of all new vehicles being sold will be electric. And eventually, I believe that'll get to the big vehicles like semis and combines. It'll take a lot longer for the bigger vehicles because they require bigger batteries, but we will get there. Tesla already has plans to get into lithium refinery. They're looking for spots in Texas to build a refinery for a plant there on the coast. And I think they plan on having it up and running by the end of 2024. So when they do that, then even more lithium can hit the market, and then they can scale up batteries even more. And who knows? Maybe they can make so much lithium they can start selling it to other people. Okay, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna see what the car is gonna do. So common courtesy tells me I should move over. So I'm gonna do that. Well, it's not letting me. Like I said, there's a Midwestern nice, there's a certain way I like to behave on the interstate. And usually when I see people coming on, I want to move over. I usually take over rather than watch what the car does. It didn't actually move over. I guess because it knew that lane was going to be open. So I do use autopilot a lot on the interstate. And autopilot is different than FSD. Autopilot just allows it to stay in the lane, and it allows it to recognize other vehicles. So if it comes up to another vehicle, it'll slow down and it'll go at that speed. Or now I'm trying to think. Okay, there's navigate with FSD, and that'll allow the vehicle to drive around the vehicle if it's going too fast, too slow. So they got their left turn signal on. I don't know if they want to get into this line. They're gonna have to, I could slow down a little bit. So it's 60 miles per hour. That's the speed limit. I toggled it up to 67. This is the speed I want it to go. How fast I'll say it can go. This is the actual speed, so it's going 64. Yeah, but internal combustion engine technology has been dominating the roads for 100 years, and it seems like it's kind of stagnated. It hasn't really gone anywhere. But pretty much in the last decade, we've seen the rise of EVs. And I think there's a lot more electric vehicles on the road than most people are aware of. There's not only Tesla, Rivian's a new company that has their trucks. I've noticed the Kia EV6. I've seen the VW ID4. I've seen a few Ford Mustang Mach-E's. I haven't seen a Ford F-150 Lightning, but they're out there somewhere. There's Chevy Bolts. Lucid's a new company. VW's got some electric vehicles. I don't know. It's mostly a lot of Teslas. Tesla is the leader, and I believe it will continue to be the leader. And I think that gives it a huge advantage. You know what? No, never mind. I was looking at that truck back there. Confirm lane change. So I am confirming lane change.
In 1 mile, take exit 5B on the right onto 42nd Street.
But yeah, there's a lot of talk of the competition is coming, and I think, the companies that are focused on really pushing towards electric vehicles that aren't Tesla, like Ford, I think they'll do just fine. But I think the problem with competition is it's scaling up manufacturing. Right now, Tesla made 1 million vehicles in 2021. It looks like they're going to make 1.3, maybe 1.4 million vehicles this year. And that's the thing I think traditional auto companies are going to struggle with, is to get scaled up, because you do need to rely on supply chains. You need to rely on having access to the metals to make the batteries. And I think a lot of companies are going to have problems with that, especially startup companies. Like Rivian has a lot of potential. I think their trucks are really cool, but they're a young company. If you're looking for a lithium metal contract, you want to have I think those lithium companies, they would rather be looking for a 10-year contract rather than a... So this car just jumped into the only lane. It's not supposed to be in the only lane. Well, I'm gonna turn then, because it's not supposed to be here. I don't know if it knows that.
In 500 feet, turn left onto Woodland Avenue. Now turn left onto Woodland Avenue.
Now, I don't want to tell you to go buy Tesla stock, because I don't want to be seen as that guy who's like, hey, this is going to be a really good stock, because it sounds like when you say something like that, you're going to be wrong. But I'm going to tell you, I know where I've put my money in the future, and I'm pretty confident.
In 500 feet, turn left onto 39th Street.
So we're going down to construction design. I mean, just to ask yourself, how many full self-driving programs do you know of right now? I mean, you've probably heard of Waymo, and I can't think of the other ones. But how many do you know? How many self-driving programs do you actually know someone who has a self-driving program that they're driving? Tesla, it seems like the lead.
In 500 feet, turn left onto 38th Street.
Yeah.
Now turn left onto 39th Street.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going to be like, oh man, you're just kissing Elon Musk's ass. And he's just a con man, and you're just drinking the Kool-Aid or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, I've always been interested in space. So in 2008, I saw the company SpaceX. I didn't see them in person, but I saw on television how they launched a Falcon 1 rocket for the first time. I'm like, that's super cool. There's a
Center Street.
I got a lady walking a dog in the road. The vehicle did see that. But yeah, I followed SpaceX. I didn't really follow Elon Musk at all, but I did follow SpaceX over the years, and I watched them develop this rocket, the Falcon 9, and I compared that to other rockets. And then in 2012, 2013, I saw them working on a program called the Grasshopper, which was a vertical takeoff, vertical landing rocket system. It would fire its engines, hover, land. And I was familiar with the program that NASA had back in the 90s called the DX9 or DCX. I forget what. It was basically something similar to that. and I saw this grasshopper,
Now turn right
and
onto
I'm like,
38th
oh,
Street.
that's super cool. Like, it's a lot like this NASA program they had. But in my mind, I'm like, I can't figure out how they would,
Destination is on the left.
apply this technology, because NASA had already worked on it. I mean, where would this company go with it? But so I kind of did see it as a cool stunt. But then, 2.5 years later, in December of 2015, SpaceX started landing their own rockets. And SpaceX has had, I think they're at 180 successful launches so far. And the Falcon 9's only been flying since 2010. The Space Shuttle flew 135 times, and it flew over the course of 30 years. Now, there's videos I'd love to do on comparing Space Shuttle reusability to Falcon 9 reusability and talking about the differences, but I feel like that'd be way too long. It needs to be its own video. Anyways, the point is, after watching SpaceX technology, I took an interest into Elon Musk and what he was doing with other companies, and that's why I became so interested in Tesla. And after spending time learning about this program and experiencing it, it's made me way more confident in the future of Tesla. And I just see such huge potential here. And I'm excited about the future. And there are critics out there, and nothing ever goes to plan, and things sometimes take longer than usual. But this makes me excited and optimistic about the world we live in. And I dream of a brighter future where I will be able to just get into a car, take a nap, maybe read a book or whatever. I see, and I believe we're going to have robots in the future. They can help us with work. And I believe I will one day be able to fly on a spaceship to outer space and maybe spend a week-long vacation in orbit or on the moon. And that sounds crazy, but you know what? I think I'm going to be right. And it may be 30 years from now, but I believe I'm going to have a bright and exciting future ahead. So if you're still watching, thanks. I appreciate it. And like the video. And let me know if you want to see more.